All right. Now that we've got that going. So thank you everyone for joining. I know a little bit late start for the session here, kind of getting everything set up and reviewing what we're going to talk about today. So obviously just me today. Adam's dad passed away earlier this week, and so very sad to hear that. And he is taking some time to spend with the family and work through that. And so we're excited that he has the opportunity to do that. Unfortunately, for the reasons that it occurred, but anyway, Adam is out today. We'll be returning sometime next week. So you just have me, and as I have tried on the various occasions where I host our update by myself, I'll try to be short. And I'm about 50-50 whether we get there or not. So we'll kind of dive right in to some of our topics today. I am going to get a little housekeeping out of the way. So we have pushed a small bug fix out earlier this week. We had a few things pop up, and we try to get those addressed. I think there's a few more things, kind of the little details that always seem to be out there. As you come across those, please let us know. As Adam's mentioned many times before, we're an agile shop. That means we're very quick to work on these things. You know, there is a counter perspective, a counter option to this, and we could sit on these updates and go through what is typically called, you know, a rigorous testing cycle, and really kind of dive into every possible deal and try to get those absolutely perfect. We feel we get better benefit, and you get quicker benefit by rolling these out. And then as we need to make changes, we make those changes based on your feedback as members. So we harp on that pretty often, that we're member driven. So sometimes a few of these, I think we work really hard to make sure that our updates aren't rough. There may be a few bumps along the way. We haven't been perfect, but I think we're doing a pretty good job of getting these out here so that you guys get quick access to the new features and the new capabilities. We want to empower you just as soon as we can. And along the way, we take what you guys say and we incorporate it into the code. There are so many things in our software today. It's primarily driven by feedback that we've received from you guys. So we definitely want you to chime in on that and make it part of the new platform going forward. Let's build a tool that's really useful to you. We really want to capitalize on that. All right. So let's talk about where we are in our annual cycle. So this is the last week in March. Time, as always, seems to be going by pretty quickly. Q1 is wrapping up. And you may be looking at that going, wow, I just feel like I got started. Or maybe, you know, I just now got the fires beat down from January. And sometimes I know that's the case. But one of the values of the framework that we position for you out there is the ability to tackle these things in chunks and measured, or at least focused opportunities, because it really isn't possible for you to sit down and just dive through everything in every session with your clients every time. All right. It's just not very doable. But I know many of you, if you think back to some of your meetings, that's exactly what you've done, right? You have sat down and you've started talking about, you know, the list of things you had, but those meetings de-evolved into a discussion about everything that had a blinky light or something. And we want to try to get out of those. The way we can do that is be thematic in our engagements, and that provides focus. Now, it doesn't provide exclusivity, all right? So when we say we're going to focus on architecture in Q1, we're doing just that. We are focusing. It doesn't mean that we aren't going to be talking about security projects that need to be talked about right now. Security is on the calendar for Q3. Conversely, we get around to September, October, and we have an architecture item that needs to be discussed. Obviously, we're going to do that. But if we will focus these quarters, it's really going to help you manage what's going on so that you aren't trapped in these meetings where you're talking about everything that needs to be done, every engagement with your clients. Right? And these will make them much more manageable for you and much more engaging for your clients. So let's talk about what we're doing right now in this last little bit of March. So a suggestion here is to review all of your architecture assessments. Now, you can do that in a couple of different ways. Probably should have queued a little bit of this up, but if I bring the tool up, I'll make this meeting way too long. So if you need some information on this, reach out to me. I'll help you with it. But there is a score compare feature. Right? If you click activities, I think it is off the main menu, you will get the option to see what your clients' scores are across all of your clients. And then you can drill down and start filtering by reports. And so we can look at all of your clients and say, hey, this is our architecture assessment across all of our clients, or maybe we divide it up by segment or account managers. However you want to do that, you can filter that down so that you get a nice workable chunk of your clients on the screen, and you can see, hey, these guys are doing really good on their architecture. These guys, maybe not so much. All right. So there's an option there for you to kind of focus here in the last little bit of Q1 to really identify those guys that we just have significant gaps in. Two, I want to kind of go ahead and start thinking about Q2 and how we're going to manage this going forward. So let me back up and give you a little bit of a history or maybe just experience that we've had with some of these assessments. So we've been refining these templates for many, many years now, and they have grown. And, many of you probably heard my standard joke. We had one, the expert QBR template was kind of the last of the single templates that we had. And it got so big, it had 2 kitchen sinks, right? It was just too much information in it. And so we began to break these out. And we realized that there really is a maturity or an evolutionary sort of progress in how we can look at this. So the architecture assessment, again, defining what they have in the environment. And as we move into Q2, we're now going to be focusing, not exclusively, but our theme for Q2 is to focus on how they're using that technology. So here's what you can do to kind of bridge the gap between Q1 and Q2 and really set yourself up for some success here is look at your clients and the engagements that you're going to be having in Q2. There's probably, without doing a full assessment, without doing the whole quarter, right? But there's probably a handful of clients that have, really high priority projects, or maybe it's high potential projects for you. And you're looking at this and go, I know if we can get this in front of the clients in the right way, they may sign off on this other project, or we may be able to finally implement, the policy that they've been trying to, enforce for forever. Well, whatever that technology is. But you need to look at those carefully and make sure that you have the infrastructure or the architecture in place to support those. Because if you don't, when you get to that point in Q2 and you're having this conversation with your client saying, Mr. Customer, you really need to be doing these sort of things, and you finally win them over and they go, okay, yes, I understand what you're saying now. We've got to implement that. We've got to enforce that. We've got to roll that feature across, all of our, workstations, whatever that is. And then you have to pause that and say, okay, we can do that. But first, we need to install this hardware, or first you need to upgrade this license to another level. Then you have slowed down your project management process, or just your implementation cycle with your clients. So that's the real value of getting the architecture done at the first of the year. And I know with many of our clients, we're on an ongoing cycle. So, Q1 is just another quarter, it follows Q4, right? But getting this geared up early on and then kind of looking throughout the rest of the year is going to help you be more successful throughout the year, because you've got the things in place to make the rest of the things happen. So look at your clients. Again, Q2 is going to be that whole cycle of evaluating what they could be doing, what they need to be doing. But right now, if you can do a little crystal balling, a little prioritizing, maybe some cherry picking some of your clients and going through and go, I know we're going to talk to them about this in June. And I think we can finally get them to move forward with this, but they're going to need a switch upgrade. We're not going to be able to support all of the devices that we're going to roll out because the switches don't have enough power in them to support all the PoE devices, whatever it is, right? There's lots of things. Let's get things aligned here and make sure this goes out well. The second thing I want to talk about is to kind of, as we move, it's a good opportunity to clarify here about how we are focusing on items. And you've heard me mention many times that I love the Humanized IT framework because it's so simple to describe, but it's so simple to communicate to our internal team as well. And I've had a recent, or in the last week, I've had the opportunity to share an experience I had with one of my engineers many years ago. A brilliant engineer. I mean, just phenomenal technician and engineering, real technical engineer. And he was focused on our IPT solutions. So back in I don't know, early on in my managed services management career, we did just a ton of Cisco IPT projects. So we're installing Call Manager every other week. And this engineer was really great at doing that. So he'd go out there, he would get these things done. And we always had kind of a base scope of work. We're going to install the Call Manager. And part of that would be an auto attendant. And so we would get that up and running, making sure that they're getting, a basic flow so that the calls get responded to and routed appropriately. But while he's on site with a customer, he's engaging with them. He's seeing the possibility. He's listening to what they're saying. He's seeing their systems hands-on. And all of a sudden, the ideas start sprouting. They could do this. Hey, Cisco just, released this feature where I can now read this database and I can populate the digits that we hand off in, a transfer or something. All these great ideas. And one that was, good stuff, but it created a real opportunity for scope creep, right? We've all battled that in our projects. And so sometimes I had to make sure that I managed him and say, hey, hold on, time out. That's really great stuff. Let's make sure we get this in place. We get the what installed, and then we can follow up with them and talk about all the additional great things that they can do now that they have this in place. So as you look at your portfolio of solutions that you're offering to your customers, you see these possibilities. Sometimes it just, without even thinking about it, you see what they can do. Divide this up. Make sure they have the what before we really roll out the how they're going to use it. And when you do that, you're going to find your conversations are going to be much easier with your clients because you're not tackling two things at one time. You could do this, but we first have to install this. Let's break this down. And to kind of wrap this up a little bit, and maybe I am going to end a little bit early today. I'm coming up here. I haven't had any questions pop up in the chat. So if you got something, go ahead and throw it up here and I'll make sure we respond to that. But even if later on, maybe it's Q2, maybe it's later on in the year, you're going to get to a spot and the client is going to need to decide, are we going to implement this option? Are we going to go this way? Basically, there's going to be a series of, opportunities for them. But you can look at that and go, no matter which route they choose, I know this basic level of infrastructure needs to exist. Focus on those, get those in place today, because if you have that out of the way, if that's already settled in and running, when you get to that point later this year, you're going to be able to facilitate those conversations much, much easier. without having to bring in, oh, you could do this, but first we're going to have to upgrade this switch, or you could do this, but first we're going to have to, increase your licensing on this. Let's get that established and out of the way as soon as possible, and then have really, really productive conversations with your clients later on. They're going to be able to see the opportunities. You're going to be able to map things out for them, and then they can pick. And then your response is, okay, we'll get that going. And you have much less upfront work to do before you can actually get that going. All right. I think I've read through things or gone through things here. Let me read through the update email to make sure that I have covered everything here. A comment on this: if you're not getting our NAN, which is our Not Another newsletter, if you aren't getting that, make sure that you are subscribing to that. That will give you a brief rundown of this. We also put some specific information in there from time to time about product releases. When we did our big feature release a few weeks ago, Adam kind of had the official, sort of bullet point item there, so you can reference those. And we do try to put a little bit of information. I've got a section down in there that I try to be pretty practical. Hey, you could do this or do that. I think what did I comment on this week? Did I have? I have several ideas, and I forget which week I put these ideas in there sometimes. The internal notes. Yes. So the internal notes is a really cool feature that isn't used that often, but when it's used, I think it's a really powerful tool for your team. It really allows you to take a individual within your organization who may be your inside expert, your person who really knows this, and allows them to leverage their information and their skill set across a broader skill set, a broader team staffing perspective from your team. So what I'm saying there is you've got one person who could put some great information in there, and your whole team can leverage that. So the internal notes versus the external notes, there's a cool methodology there that you can leverage to help your teams out. All right. Maybe we're coming off spring break. Not real sure. It's a little bit lighter attendance list than what we have. Maybe some folks just knew that Adam wasn't going to be here, and they knew it wasn't going to be as exciting. That's the way it is. More practical stuff with just me. Sorry about that. So I'll go ahead and won't belabor the point anymore. I appreciate you guys showing up and working with us. So March Madness. Okay. Yeah. So everybody's watching the basketball games. I get that. That's okay. As long as you don't have too much riding on it. All right. Maybe just a little bit, but not too much. Be careful there. And with that, I'll wrap things up and sign off for this week. Please let us know any feedback. We're really excited about the new features that have been rolled out. Again, we want to get all the things fixed. If there's little bugs in there, let us know. We'll try to get on those right away. And what I really like, as we go through these and we get lots of great member feedback, we put these products together, we work with our team, we roll it out, and inevitably, it's just a little while and I'm on a session with a member and they start showing me things that I never thought we could use it that way. They're using the tools in, really exciting ways. And I love to see that and, incorporate that into what we communicate or maybe what we develop in the future. So make sure you're letting us know. We love that feedback. And with that, we are under 25 minutes. Wow. That's probably going to be a new record for me. And we'll probably see Adam back next week. And I appreciate everybody for joining us today. You have a good week. Thank you.